in case with this particular four element, whatever we have, so how these particular four elements probably going to be work out for you, what kind of like networking scenario you can play around with it. And in case you wanted to address anything in terms of planning and working with those like use cases, then how things going to be work out. And maybe if at all you are like planning and managing anything in terms of Azure perspective, then how these particular options probably you can leverage. And in case you plan to implement your particular networking scenario on top of it, then what's the option available? What all the objectives maybe we can take care of it. And in case we need to like plan and manage or operationally work out with those scenarios and all of that, then how those things going to be like managed, and you can simplify those options in terms of working with those implementations or working with those particular activity overall, right? So here we need to think about like planning, or maybe you can say working with that overall traffic management. Now, usually in our day-to-day business use case, right, whenever we are planning or looking at any of the operational activity as a part of the system, or maybe you can say the cloud-driven services, whatever we are like planning to go for it, then in that particular case, uh, Azure provides you a kind of option, or maybe you can say it will provide you a kind of activity where you can think of that how those things going to be probably work out for you. Maybe in case you need to manage your particular traffic management or operations altogether in place, and then accordingly you wanted to provide your access towards the application layers and all. So here, different type of load balancer activities, probably we need to think about it. And the scope of those particular load balancer is to provide you a kind of different approach, or maybe you can say different activity altogether. And then probably you can simplify those activity as a part of your overall like implementations or overall operations, what we need to think through, right? So the objective over here is that basically from the Azure specific, right? Whenever you are looking into any of this traffic manager or decision making, like when to use what, and how those particular component are going to be beneficial, right? So that way at least you can take a call. You can make a decision that okay, if this is the use case, if this is the objective, then how maybe you will be able to go for it, and then accordingly you may simply go through with your particular deployment and other stuff as a part of your particular overall system, whatever we have. So the scope over here is that to provide you a kind of option, or maybe you can say provide you a kind of like activity where we need to like plan the traffic management, the routing mechanism, and the other policies as a part of the system. And then probably you may simply go ahead with those deployments and other stuff as a part of the overall environment or overall activity, whatever we are like planning to go for it. So specific objective is more about identifying the right set of uh, traffic management layer. So here Microsoft is offering you a kind of well architect framework, and the purpose of this particular well-architected framework is more providing you a kind of approach where you can decide that in case of planning and designing your solutions, right? So here, let me show you that uh, traffic manager, Azure Traffic Manager decision tree. So here we do have some particular sort of standard traffic management, or maybe you can say operation related traffic operations related services in place, and with the help of that particular services we can identify that in case you are planning, or if you are looking at any of the activity, or if you're looking at any of these particular operations as a part of that particular end-to-end system, then how that is something going to be work out for you, and then maybe you will be able to play around with that activity, or play around with that particular services, and then accordingly you will be able to manage operationally or work with that particular task in your day-to-day operations or in your day-to-day activity, what we are like looking at it, right? So it's more about planning, it's more about kind of approach what we are like looking at it. And in that particular case, if probably we wanted to identify or visualize that how those network traffic and other process or other activity we are looking into it, so how that thing may be going to be work out for you, and then you can take a call that which decision making or the algorithm, maybe algorithm you call it out, or maybe scenario what you can call it out. So you can decide that which networking approach probably you can take a call, and then maybe you will be able to go for it. So here we need to decide that what is the objective we are like looking at it, right? So here, if you see, there is a high level decision tree provided, and this particular decision tree basically help you out that what type of objective you are planning to achieve. Like when you are planning with your particular network load balancing or traffic routing mechanism under your particular services and all of that, then how that traffic management or load balancing activities probably going to be work out, probably route your traffic locally, globally, whether it's DNS level, whether it's like application level, what kind of like options we do have, and then accordingly you may simplify that particular process, and then you may simply go ahead with that activity as a part of it, right? So here, if you observe, there are different particular network management or traffic management process is available, and you can pick up that which best option, like I mean which option best suitable in your particular use case, and then accordingly you will be able to provide that particular options the way it is expected. So here if you see, there are some of the classifications are given that if in case you are planning for load balancer, front door service, traffic manager, or front door with application gateway, or combination of two particular services together, right? So when to use what? So here, basically, that guideline is given when you want to design that particular classification, then how those things going to be work out. So that is something we can decide, and then maybe we will be able to go through with that scenario as a part of the implementation. Now, the way yesterday we understood that traffic management or operational related activities and all of that. So maybe similar to that, I'll provide the comparison. Right. So first of all, here I will say OSI layer. So basically, first thing in place, we need to understand that if I'm planning to go through with one of these particular networking methodology, which methodology works where, and what's that particular objective probably fulfill, and then accordingly maybe we can take a call, or probably we can decide that how that is something you will be able to approach, so that in case of planning and provisioning your traffic or maybe the load balancer activities and all, probably we can take a call towards that. So the first, it will start with load balancer. So here I can say load balancer works at layer 4 with the help of TCP or UDP protocols. Probably we can use it in terms of planning and working with our Azure Load Balancer. Whereas the purpose of application gateway works at layer 7 with HTTP or HTTPS protocol, maybe we can think through. If we are going through with the traffic manager, this one works at layer 7 but it's more focused on DNS side of it, right? So it is basically performing DNS, resolving kind of activities and all of that. Whereas this is also again in terms of layer 7 along with HTTP or HTTP S kind of protocol to be probably we can resolve, and it will help you out in terms of planning and managing your network management or kind of options maybe we can consider. Now, most important factor is that when you are looking into any particular service, right, whenever you need to provide a kind of recommendation that, hey, which service works regional, or maybe you can say which service work as in global kind of activity, so that probably you can drive your traffic, you can manage your particular redirections, and accordingly, probably you can play around with those load balancer activities. So here I can say the it's basically we can plan, or maybe we can identify that in case of planning any of your particular scope. Maybe here I can say what is the scope of this particular service in terms of global or regional, right? So you can decide that, okay, looking at my current scope of this service, what is my business use case, or maybe what is the requirement, and then accordingly you will be able to provide that options in that particular scenario, whatever we have. Now, earlier load balancer was local only, but now they have added the additional feature in terms of global. We can have global load balancer. We can also configure application gateway as in regional. Regional, that means it will be allowing you to route your traffic within the region only. This one is again global, and this one is also global. So whenever we want to plan a traffic routing mechanism, right? So we can take a call that how that is something probably available, and then maybe you will be able to manage your particular traffic operationally, and then accordingly you will be able to allow your customers or maybe the applications how they can basically route the traffic, and then accordingly you may simplify that particular approach the way it is expected. So here you can have those options available. Now, when we are planning with this particular overall classifications, what we have, right? So, probably the pricing plan is something, one of the objective probably we need to consider, because looking at the pricing plan, you may have some particular kind of standard option, or maybe like kind of standard features associated with that. So here, pricing point of view, uh, the load balancer provides you a kind of approach, or maybe you can say the option in terms of basic and standard pricing plan available. When it comes to application gateway, so application gateway has a standard and WAF plan. So that is a firewall plan included under that particular. So Windows application firewall, if you wanted to integrate with it. As of now, traffic manager, there is, I mean, pricing plan is like just the standard activity. We just provision it and then we can access it. Whereas in front door service, again, it's like standard and premium. Right now, here I will always call it out that this pricing tier is like Microsoft is keep on enhancing, looking at the customer's requirement, or maybe the feedback provided by the organization and people who all are using it. Accordingly, they will keep on enhancing that particular pricing plan, right? Now, most of the time when we are looking for SSL or TLS terminations, right, we are looking for particular SSL certificate supporting and those kind of like transport layer security to be added and all of that. So in that particular case, that is something only supported by two different service providers. Over here, I can say that will be applicable in my application gateway. and that particular feature is supported with my option in terms of front door services, right? So these two services are basically supporting that particular mechanism, whereas the load balancer and the traffic manager services, they are not basically providing you kind of approach. Even firewall and other stuff, if you want to configure, application gateway and front door service basically gonna help you out with those options and approach what we are like looking at it. So ultimately, like whenever we are planning with any of this particular process or approach, maybe we need to play around with it, then in that particular case, we will be able to go ahead with this particular traffic management and all. So in general, like load balancer and Azure Traffic Manager, these two services are basically providing traffic in terms of standard maybe here I can say uh, HTTPS traffic. If I'm looking at it, HTTP or HTTPS traffic kind of approach, then they are supported with application gateway and front door services, whereas load balancer and traffic manager are basically covered with non-HTTPS kind of traffic in place. So ultimately, like the objective over here is that we can plan, or probably you can say you will be able to identify that going through with your network traffic or planning and managing the communication across the overall, you can say Azure specific approach, or maybe you can consider that if you are willing to define any of this particular traffic routing mechanism as a part of it, then you can decide one of these approach, and then maybe you will be able to go ahead with those options or activity as a part of it. So we need to decide that which particular traffic management or maybe the mechanism which we are like planning to take care of it, and then accordingly you will be able to provision that, and then you can configure that options as a part of your particular approach, or probably you can define that communication across the services what we are like looking at it.
Well, that was our expert, and thank you so much for staying with us till the end of the video. Now, all you have to do is just click the link in the description below, or if you are just starting out, just type k21academy.com/azure02. Now, all you have to do is just enter a name, enter email ID, enter phone number, and click on register now. And you will be redirected to this page. You can also add this to your Google Calendar or Apple Calendar, and I promise this is something that you don't want to miss. So go ahead, click on the link and step into the world where learning knows no boundaries. Till then, keep enjoying. I'll see you in the next video.